random thoughts of 15 years into software engineering. So somebody is gonna share their life experience with us. Could be insightful. I'm coming up on 15 years of professional software engineering. I've worked at companies from unknown startups to large FANG-like Silicon Valley companies, and everywhere in between. In no particular order, just sharing some things I've learned that others may find helpful. Try not to think in absolutes. Computers are great at binary. Humans, not so much. Every rule has an exception. Every architectural approach has a trade-off. And I've come to that realization as well. All of those patterns you'll learn of, all of the clean code methodologies, they're not the final solution. They're not perfect. They all have their pros and cons. And it's up to you to decide which one's worth keeping, which one's worth using at any given situation. There are no absolutes, only relatives. And we sometimes hate our cousins. What is this? I just want to read. Debuggability is highly underrated. When writing code, you have to think about how it will execute. You also need to be thinking about how it will fail and how you will debug it in production. Leave yourself audit trails, so store data in human-readable formats and invest in admin tooling. Oh yes, it can get frustrating when you're dealing with a crash and there's no logs. You don't know where to look for them. You don't know what to do. You're just there, staring. Some good advice. Projects are late, a lot. Oh boy, who can relate? This is not unique to software. The reality is that time is constantly moving against us. And when unexpected things happen, they can take an order of magnitude longer than we planned. That's right. I just wanted to install a freaking toilet this week. And it's been 6 days. It's still not installed. It has a leak. And I had to call them up. And they don't take it back. They instead insist on coming here and take a look at it, but it will only be here next Monday, so I'm stuck with a toilet that I cannot use. I want to shit so bad. In software, there's always more we can add to a given feature or system. Give a best effort and keep your stakeholders informed of progress and blockers. Aggressively manage scope. Related to the above, protect your project's scope. Defensively, as people will often try to add things throughout the project. Slap those pesky designers whenever they ask for another button. You need to learn to say no and slap. You don't have to push back if you don't want, but be transparent about how it will affect project delivery and communicate it widely. Offensively, look for things you can cut, or my favorite, look for things that you can ship after launch and push to prioritize those at the end. I love a good fast follow. Staging is pretty much always broken. I see a lot of younger devs hand-wiring about testing environments. Don't get me wrong, testing environments are great and you should use them. But the larger your systems get, the harder it is to maintain a parallel environment that actually mirrors production in a meaningful way. It usually happens because people don't give enough of a shit about making sure that it's parallel. I've actually worked at a company where they even attempted to take the development environment and turn it into staging. So the testing environment would no longer be used for testing by the developers, but for testing by the same people using the production environment. You know where I'm going with this? I had to push really hard to stop that from happening. It would have been horrible. Can you imagine? No staging / development server for developers. Make a best effort, but otherwise don't sweat it. And don't be afraid to test things in production safely. Feature flags are your friend. Oh yeah, I actually started using feature flags a couple of years ago, sparingly, and found them to be pretty neat. Especially when it can help avoid conflicts, merge conflicts. Most people use Git, right? And for the most part, a team is gonna work in parallel on different features. But if two features happen to be dependent on the same module, and that module needs a couple of changes, it is annoying having two branches that are not in sync. One of them is gonna break the other. Feature flags help mitigate that. Allows you to work on the same branch. Action is rewarded. Pointing out problems or complaining is not. Ooh, short and sweet. I like how this is the only one that's a single line. And it's all about stop being a bitch. I like it. Although, if it just said, don't be a bitch, I'd like it even more. Bitches are annoying. Take ownership of your systems, not just your code. Act like you are personally responsible for the success of the systems you work on. Hold on, was this written by a boss? A manager maybe? Suspicious. You are part of a larger organization. The software you produce might be the product it sells to make money, but that doesn't mean your job is the center of the universe. Take time to meet people from other functions, sales, marketing, finance, and learn how they think and work. You'll have a much more holistic view of the entire business, and decisions that come down around you will make a lot more sense. This is true even in the smallest of startups. Yeah, get to know people, see what they're like, find out why things are the way they are. I don't have anything to add to this, it's just good. Good advice. If you're an introvert though, skip this one, you're screwed. Ask dumb questions. Oh! If you're in a group of people and have a question about what is being discussed, there's a great chance that someone else in that group has the same question. Speak up, ask that question for the good of the team. Don't be afraid to question. And even if it makes you look bad, at least you're not gonna be ignorant. You're not gonna remain ignorant. You're gonna learn. You're gonna, over time, stop being dumb. So it's worth getting a little bit of shame. You'll get over it. And people will remember, at least the higher-ups can tell who's invested. And making questioning things, why this is done this way, why this is done that way, is gonna make you look like you're invested. It's one of the, I was gonna say few, but one of the many ways that you can make yourself stand out. You'd be surprised how many people just might care, but they don't express it. At least it's not visible. Nobody will remember that you asked the question, but you and everyone else will forever have the information and the answer. You won't have time to go back and fix technical debt. Oh, really? Don't kid yourself? Do your best to minimize it up front and prioritize what to address based on what you would be okay living with for the foreseeable future. I know it sounds grim, but yeah, this is exactly what I do. I have accepted that things never get fixed afterwards. So I try my best to get things right in the first place. And from my experience, it's paid off tremendously. 99 out of 100, you won't get to come back and fix it until this particular part of the system needs a major overhaul. And you don't know when that will happen. So enjoy it. If you're anything like me, writing with code is fun. Sometimes I still laugh and that someone is willing to pay me a significant salary to do something I enjoy so much. Oh! Can't believe they pay me to do this shit. What do the people have to say? Aggressively managed scope makes the biggest difference in my experience. Deliver the minimum acceptable requirements, then you still have the optional to iterate into something better. You definitely won't have time to fix technical debt. I've been in the business 30 plus years and still hear other developers or dev managers say, we can add that to our tech debt and fix it later. In fact, after 30 years, I still see every team I've worked on make exactly the same mistakes as the previous ones. You're gonna see that a lot. You gotta be prepared to accept this. You're gonna see people make the same mistakes over and over again. And then add something new to the list. No one listens to the old timers, usually because they think our experience is out of date and they know better. I've gone from actually caring about what they do to just cynically accepting that I get paid regardless. Oh! Here's my 2 cents for the list. Architecture and structure are important at all levels. Giving your code some structure makes it easier to understand, easier to debug, and more importantly, makes it easier to do the right thing. When you make changes, and by that I mean that where and how to make changes or add code becomes more obvious when your code is well structured. Is that Scott that was in the image there? Wait, is it really?
Hey all, Scott here, and
It did look familiar to me.